because the theme today is keeping the lamp lit, something like that. So let's refuel our lamp for a few moments. So I relax the body, feet on the floor. I feel the weight of my body on the chair. But I know it is my body, but it is not me. I am a soul, a being of light. I use the costume of my body. My costume, my vehicle, my temple. And I am the jewel, the soul, seated in the center of the forehead. And I enjoy sitting on my throne, knowing who I am. I'm a being of light. I'm a being of peace. I go deep into that state of peace. So that I free myself from all other influences, and I experience my original state of being. And now I'm free. I, the soul, can fly to that region of light, that region of silence, the home of light. In fact, it pulls me. I'm attracted to go there and be totally at rest, totally at peace. And there I connect with the divine, the source of peace. The light of the soul touches the light of the divine. And I enter that ocean of peace. So powerful, so fulfilling, so comforting. With the waves of peace. come the waves of love. This true healing power of divine love. The greatest love. And the whole of eternity. A love that is constant. A love that embraces me with acceptance and understanding. A love that returns to me my true inherent value. I feel that I'm so precious to the divine being, that being that is totally benevolent, and makes that divine love available to all. I'm connected with my eternal parent, and I'm safe. And then I remember my task to be an instrument, to share divine love and peace and wisdom with the world. I allow the love to flow in me, through me, and reach out. There is great power in this love. That can heal our planet. We have forgotten, and now we remember. I share in the divine task of creating a world of love, a world of peace. And now gently I return to the awareness of my body and the room. Having been on my special journey beyond, I return filled with light, with love, with peace, I return refreshed and renewed. Om Shanti. It's a beautiful atmosphere in the room. So I think you've all become experts now at going beyond and sharing. And that's wonderful. And so, yes, we light our lamps here. So how can we keep the lamp alight? Well, the first word, practice. So important to continue to practice in your own way or in the way we've been sharing, but a regular daily practice, morning and evening. And you really can't replace that. You know, there are no shortcuts, let's put it that way. And we all know, somebody mentioned the wild horse of the mind. So if you don't harness it in the morning, first thing, even allow it a little bit of leeway, you're running after it the whole day, right? That's why the morning practice is so important. And then in the evening, you wind up the day. In that conversation with the divine, you look at the day, and I've learnt now not to look at what was wrong, what was right, I should have done this, I should have done that. But my question to myself always is, at the end of the day, what did I learn today? And we had a lovely saying in our teachings recently that if there's a challenge or an obstacle in your life, it becomes a staircase for your self-progress. I learn through that. And I learn how to use the treasures that I have. The treasure of time, the treasure of thoughts, the treasure of breath. Is every one of these being used in the best possible way at each moment? Now, we're not going to become perfect all of a sudden. It would be nice. It's, I always say, work in progress. But it's paying that attention, having that intention to use the treasures in the best way. And we speak about the soul and the consciousness. But as you know, we all know there's a lot going on in there, right? It's not just got birds flying. I remember an advert on TV once of somebody who was thoughtless, and it showed sky and birds in his head. That would be nice. But a lot more happens. And there's actually a process that happens of consciousness. So one part of the process is our thoughts, the generation of thoughts. Now, as we have been saying before, and picking up, of course, on what Sister Genti shared with us yesterday, what we see through the senses, we then think about. So that defines our thoughts, or our past memories, or the past traumas, certainly. They tend to emerge and define our thoughts. But what about the self-sovereign? Can I generate thoughts of my own choice? And that's what we're doing in meditation, being the sovereign. And because thoughts and feelings are very closely connected. If you become the sovereign of your thoughts, you become the sovereign of your feelings. But okay, there are many thoughts, but you all know that there's that part of you that then wants to make sense of the thoughts, maybe wants to change the direction of thoughts. And I always say, if my thoughts are going in a particular direction and then I'm able to change the direction, that is power, right? That is power. So there's that part of us, aspect of the consciousness, that sees, that discerns, that takes a decision in a particular way. And that's the part that we call intellect. And it's not intellect in terms of an intellectual pursuit, but it's actually, the intellect is a very intuitive faculty that we have. Because if you think about how you take decisions, you will maybe logically reason things out, but ultimately you feel it. Am I right? What's right? So the intellect is actually very much connected with your inner voice and with the conscience. And so if my intellect is working well without too much interference from my thoughts, then I will listen to that inner voice and I'll do what it is saying. I will listen to my conscience. And of course, then I will feel comfortable inside because I'm being true to myself. And I'm not actually doing something for the sake of whatever approval or whatever it may be externally, which then makes me uncomfortable, and I have to continue to do that to try and feel comfortable, right? Like an addiction, it's not just substance addiction, but it's also addiction to how we work in our relationships and our attitude. And so to heighten this faculty is so important. And when you look at the world, you think, have consciences gone to sleep? They have, a lot. But we need to get back in touch. So that faculty is so crucial. And what feeds it are good things, spiritual teachings, meditation, spiritual knowledge. So your intellect then has some tools on which to move forward. Otherwise, it only knows the external influences with which to move forward. Right? It's making sense? But now I have an inner awareness. Now I have inner understanding. So I can say, well, maybe this is the way to go. So that's why we actually study spiritual teachings every day as well as meditate, so that you're feeding the intellect, really feeding the soul good nourishment. And when we act, and of course that's the faculty too that realizes when you have I should say, aha moments. It's that faculty is saying, aha, right, I understand. And once you understand and you realize something, you don't go back on it, right? It stays. But then as we act, we then create, let's say, impressions, patterns, Sister Genti mentioned. I'll use the Hindi, or I think it's actually a Sanskrit word, sanskaras. And there's a lot of ways of defining that: patterns, traits, personality traits, memories. But it's actually where we carry our karma as well. But there's not enough time to go into karma philosophy. We need another few hours together. Or, well, you maybe follow up at your centres or wherever. But that's very interesting that we hold all these impressions. And, think how many impressions we take in through our senses. So they get stored somewhere. And they don't all get stored, but when something causes a reaction in me, a feeling in me, it gets imprinted. So we've got all these imprints. Now, this is where we see the difference between our original sanskaras, which are the sanskars of the gifts from God: love, peace, purity, truth, wisdom, and joy. We went through our original qualities a few times. So there are original sanskars that are eternally with the soul. And then as we go through life, we acquire all these sanskaras and patterns. And sometimes you can see the play within yourself of what's emerging. Are sanskars emerging from this? Are sanskars emerging from childhood? Are sanskars emerging from my quality of my relationships? Are sanskars emerging from my memory? Or are sanskars emerging from the deeper part of me? Right? Do you observe that? So now, consciously, which are the sanskaras I wish to use in my life? The original ones, or the ones I've acquired along the way? And the ones that I've acquired along the way tend to make me dependent upon others or external circumstances. Because, say for example, I do something to help somebody and I get a good result from that. Oh, it makes me feel good, makes me feel happy. Or you can even say smoking is another thing, or eating something, whatever. It makes me feel happy. We're looking for happiness. Whether it's in relationships, whether it's in what we do or how we do it. And then that sanskar tells me, okay, now do it again and you'll feel happy, right? So you keep doing that thing and this trait deepens, but you're not actually empowering yourself, you're weakening yourself, right? Because you're becoming more dependent on doing that thing. And this is where we see many souls have become weakened today. And then when we're weakened, we do not have the power to overcome the negative influences. So greed and attachment and ego and everything else. And ego's a big one, we keep building up the ego to feel good, and someone comes and pops it with a pin and there can be an explosion. The balloon pops, but it can ignite many things. So this is the first aspect. Let me really understand what are the impressions I'm taking into myself through what I see and hear and how I respond. And I always remember, many of you will know Gabor Mate's work on trauma, and his basic thing is always, trauma is not what happens to you, but how you respond to what happens to you. And so that determines the depth of that impression or that sanskara. And then we keep deepening it, and it keeps emerging again. So you can see how the patterns develop. So, and when certain patterns emerge or sanskaras emerge, then it gives fuel to a lot of thinking that then can overpower the intellect. So I really feel I'm running out of time explaining all these things, but just think about what I take in and how I use it, and what do I feed in myself. Am I feeding my original sanskaras, or am I feeding the acquired sanskaras? And then you think about it and learn more. Well, you'll see it practically in yourself. And so keeping the lamp alive, or lit. We are alive, but to be lit, we're all alive here, is to keep emerging those original sanskars and allowing them to drive me and their expression to drive me. So where love emerges, its expression is compassion, is kindness, and so on, care, but not with a neediness, but in a selfless way to serve. Whether it's reciprocated or not, it's my duty to serve. And so on. You can see for all these qualities, can I give happiness through allowing my sanskar of happiness to emerge, so that I don't take in sorrow. Actually is a wonderful definition of detachment that, and Sister Jenny touched on it, but I remember Daddy Janki saying it so succinctly, that detachment means never ever allowing sorrow to enter your heart. Very interesting. So it's not a coldness, but when we say detachment, I'm in soul consciousness, I'm using my original sanskars, and because I'm in the mode of giving, I'm not going to be absorbing so much from the suffering around me or the past experiences, but I'm actually become an instrument to transform those. Sometimes people say, how do I protect myself? The best protection is to give. Then you have that aura of goodness and positivity around you. And this is another aspect, that we take our atmosphere with us wherever we go. We create an atmosphere through our thoughts, through our feelings, through our attitude. Nothing remains hidden. Vibrations cannot remain hidden. And as you all have said, of course, come into this house and you feel the power of the atmosphere. Why? Because of the attitude and feelings and intentions of the people who live here and come to help here. And you walk into a household where there's anger and conflict, and you feel it very quickly. So another question to the self, in terms of keeping the lamp alive or lit. What is the atmosphere that I'm creating around me at any moment? And we have this saying that our attitude creates the atmosphere. So what am I carrying around with me? Another aspect I would really love to go into, but now I'm seeing that time is racing. But something you could follow up on. Because what we take from the divine, we take teachings, understandings, virtues, all the qualities that we absorb, as we've been describing in meditation, experiencing. But there are also powers. And when you're connected, there are certain powers that you have in yourself. Not occult powers, very practical powers. So I will name them for you, but you'll have to go and research further. But first, connected with the intellect, the power to discern truth and falsehood, wrong and right, listening to the inner voice, the power to take decisions. So often we find it difficult. But if I'm listening to my inner voice, I know what to do. Then, in terms of our thoughts, the power to withdraw. I think about something for a time because I need to plan, I need to whatever, but I don't need to keep thinking about it. So can I withdraw my thoughts at that point back to that experience of inner peace? The doobie-doobie, right? Doobie-doobie-doo. And then, and along with that, the power to pack up. So am I able, when my thoughts are racing in a direction that's not useful for me, Am I able to put a full stop to that? And then we have, so there are 4 of the powers. Then we have the power to cooperate. Can I be someone who easily can give cooperation because I'm giving without expectation? So the importance of cooperation, because otherwise, how are we going to change this world? Right? And then the power to face. I'm an eternal soul, so I cannot die. My consciousness is eternal, immortal. That helps me to face. Then the power to adjust. I like this one very much. Many personalities, many situations. Can I show flexibility and still show love and kindness to those who perhaps are not showing the same to me? And lastly, and I think this is really maybe sometimes we say the most important power, the power to tolerate. And it's not about toleration, that's stress, but there's a lovely image we use that of a boy, could be a girl. Now you see all these stereotypical things, throwing stones at a tree. And what does the tree do? It gives traffic control. Can we switch it off for a minute? That was a short one. But what does the tree do? It gives its fruit. So actually tolerance is about being able to give love. But if you don't have tolerance, you can't use the rest of your virtues. So I may be very loving, very kind, and I come up against a situation I can't tolerate. Where does the kindness go? Where does the love go? So tolerance, very, very important, the tolerance of giving. So these are all the different things that we practice, that we study, because it's the deep meditation, and then it's looking practically how we apply everything in life. Because we are yogis who live in the world, right? It would be if you go and live on a mountaintop, in a cave, you can be mistaken for thinking that you're perfect because there's nothing to challenge you. And so it's only when you are in the midst of everything do you find out about yourself. You get the mirrors. You find out about your own sanskaras. And then you know what work you have to do. But it's not labor, because every day when we take that power from the divine, we actually have the means and the tools and the inner strength to transform. Without that, it's like battling. It's like beating water, or, Sister Genti used this example, the Buddhist saying, don't curse the darkness, but light a candle. Take the light and use it. Okay, I've sort of thrown a lot of things at you. It was a toss-up between to just take one thing and just, that's it, or just give you a little flavour of smorgasbord of all the different things to practice, and I'm sure you'll follow up. But the foundation of everything is the power of that connection with the divine and making that truly manifest in your life. Yeah, making sense? Probably lots of questions, but at another time. Okay, let us just close with a few minutes of silence. Om Shanti. And you heard about Drishti yesterday. So if you want to look here as I meditate, And I just share, be an instrument to share drishti with each one. If you wish, if not, of course, fine.